Thank you everyone for coming out. I've been a real estate agent for about 5 years now, ever since I graduated from CSU Pueblo down south. Bought my first property as a house hack, which was a condo. It's a long-term rental now. Then I got a duplex and then a fourplex, and the duplex and fourplex are both short-term rentals, and those were all found off market. But when I was looking for, or those were all found on market, and when I was finding my fourplex, that's kind of when I started doing off-market stuff and kind of figuring out ways to get more involved in real estate that wasn't through real estate agents and on-market type strategies. Yeah, so those are all short-term rentals now. I've done a little bit of commercial stuff with help with Renee, and I'm looking to do stuff in self-storage now on the commercial side, and then kind of do like fix and flips and whatnot in the like residential space. So we'll get right into it. So you need 3 pieces in a real estate deal in order to make it happen. Number 1 is going to be the deal or the property. Number 2 is the knowledge of how to make it happen, how to find the property, just real estate knowledge in general, and then the money. And you don't need all 3 of these, which is great if you just find the deal. Someone with the money will come and someone with the knowledge will come. Ideally, if you have 2 out of the 3, that's the best. So the knowledge and the deal is what I end up coming up with since I don't have a lot of money. So I'd say focus on those things and you'll be able to find a good real estate deal at the end of the day.
If you're planning to get photos done on your next listing or rental property, don't forget to reach out to Wayne with Homani to get 20% off your next shoot.
So these are all the routes we're going to talk about today of finding an off-market deal. The first 4 are probably going to be the main core you're going to end up using, because that's how you're going to talk to a seller directly, and that's what your main goal is going to be at the end of the day. So the first one, this is probably my favorite, I would say, which is sending direct mailers. Once you get a specific list, you can use that same list for cold calling, sending your mailers. You can door knock that same list too. I use Deal Machine, but I've also used PropStream, and then ListSource is the other one out there. Those are like the big 3 for getting your list together, and you can sort your criteria based off of certain areas. If the property is investor owned, like the owner lives at a state, it's most likely an investor. How long they've owned the home, what the equity is in the home, if they're in foreclosure, pre-foreclosure, if it's to an auction. You can sort it by all of those things and more. I would recommend just going on to that site and kind of just playing around with it of what you can sort this by and figure out what is going to work for you and test out what you want to end up targeting for your mailers, your cold callers, all those types of things. So when I first started this, I was looking for a owner finance deal. In order to do that, I had to find a seller that wanted to sell their property doing 100, like they owned it full equity or very close to full equity. So that's what I targeted on my mailers and started sending out mailers to these people, cold calling them, and got leads because they would, see the mailer, call me back. That's how you ended up getting the lead, which is why I like direct mailers, because they'll just call you directly. Instead of cold calling, you're constantly on the phones, constantly speaking to sellers, which is good, and you should do both. Ideally, you would have your list and cold call it, send direct mailers to it in order to get as many touch points as possible. And ideally, you want to hit probably 7 to 10 touch points in like 3 weeks to a month to these people in order to get their type of contact, which is creepy and stalkerish, but it's what gets results done. And half the time no one answers their phone, so they don't even see the first 7, and then the 8th one they're like, oh yeah, I've been waiting to sell my property, and you're like, oh no way, like this worked out great. The mailer websites I use are Ballpoint Marketing and Yellow Letter HQ. They're both good. You'll have to look at the pricing. The tricky thing with sending out mailers is that it costs a lot of money. When I've done mine, the recent one was like $1,100, and it was to like 500, 600 people or something like that. And it depends on the type of the envelope that you do and what type of fold and whatnot. What I like about the Ballpoint ones is that they get very creative. I think the last one I sent out had like an alien on it, and different stuff that would, like you'd get a letter and you're like, oh, what's this about? And they'd actually read it because it makes something pop and is different than what most people send an envelope and it's just a trifold and it has, dear seller, my name is Tanner, I want to buy your house. And it's like, goodbye. This one is a little more playful and fun and makes them read it a little bit more. So that's why I like ballpoint marketing. You have to be consistent with your mailers. Sending them one time generally won't work. It did work for me last week, but generally you have to send it. Like when I was going for my owner financing deal, I sent it probably 7 times total, and I got one lead that me and Renee actually did sell. Didn't end up finding someone that wanted to do owner financing, just found it on market. So it was kind of related, but not quite. And you have to like keep getting in front of them, keep getting in front of them. And so for self-storage, I've sent out 3 of them so far. People have called me, but none of them is closed. And each time I send a new one, I get a new lead. So you just want to get as many leads as possible, and then follow up with them is really important at the end of the day. Because once they call you once, they're probably not going to call you again, but you have their number and they've created a connection with you at that point. So you can keep calling them, following up, seeing where they're at in their selling journey or how you can help out in any way.
Tanner, do you have like certain templates, through your 7 touch points or whatever? Do you say something different in each one, or?
Yeah, I'll typically change it up so it's not the same letter each time. On ballpoint marketing, they have different options, and I'll just pick a different one of what I'm going to send that time, I'd say. When it's something else I've tried, you're also going to experiment with tons of stuff too to figure out what works. But I do think if you put a picture of you on there, it does work out very well because they see you as the person. They're like, oh, this is the person that's writing me, and they can put a face to a name. Helps out really well. And then just rewording what you're saying in the paragraph, slightly different. It's kind of going to be the same. Do you want to sell your house? But yeah, I wouldn't stray too far away from like the basics of it. But those small little tweaks of having your face on there, or maybe you with your dog, if you're in Colorado, because people love their dogs, could work out really well. I'm borrowing my friend's dog next week to do that one. Yeah.
Hey, brother, if you had to throw a percentage on return rate for direct mail, what would you, like if you just had a randomly applied?
Yeah,
I know you're
1
7 to 10 times.
1 to 2%, I'd say, for every time you send out the mailers of someone actually reaching out.
And they're higher intent usually if they reach out, or?
Yes. Yes. Sometimes they'll call just to yell at you for sending them a letter, which does happen, but it just happens, some old lady that's like, oh yeah, stop sending me letters. I'm like, oh, sorry, like, so you did not want to sell your house? Let me get that clear. She was like, no, I don't. And, then they hang up and, okay, don't send them a letter again. And so that comes up. So whether or not you count that or not is the tricky thing.
Sure.
But then you will get the ones that are like, yeah, I'm serious, and they want to sell their house.
Cool.
Yeah. So, but 1 to 2%, pretty low.
Or and commercial property too. When
I'd say
you
this-
house, this is
In
same.
real estate, first impressions can make or break a deal. Whether you're listing a home for sale or marketing an investment property, having high quality photos are key at grabbing attention. If you want to stand out in the competitive Colorado Springs market, having high quality photos is essential. And Wayne over at Homadi excels at getting the best possible photos for your property. He is based right here in Colorado Springs and specializes in capturing properties in the best light. If you're ready to take your property photos to the next level, make sure to contact Wayne over at Homadi and mention you heard about him from Tanner at Red and Joy Real Estate to get 20% off your next shoot. Remember, great photos can make the difference between a quick sale and a stale listing. So make sure to contact Wayne over at Homadi today.
Same method and everything, yeah. So hit consistency. The pros, the leads will call you. The cons, it does take time if you're going to do this for 7 months and you're getting leads each time, but no one's actually going through with it, which is why the more money you have to play with, the better. But not everyone always has money, which is why we're going to go into some of the other strategies that make a little bit more sense. Like cold calling is the other one. You can use the same list or get specific if you want to do this one for mailers, this one for cold calling. I would probably just cross them in order for it to get the most touches out there as possible. You're speaking directly to the sellers, and it does take time, which is probably the con, and you're gonna get hung up a lot. People are gonna cuss you out, and you're gonna be like, why am I doing this? And it takes a lot of energy, very energy draining, I would say. And if you can find ways to have fun with it, some of the ways if you count like, oh, there's another no, like see how many no's you can get, because every no leads to eventually you'll hit the yes. You know, all the salespeople say that. Whether it works, is kind of up to you. I would say just having good conversations with people. Maybe they don't want to sell their house, but they're like, oh, I'm a real estate investor. You have a good chat about what you're looking to do. Maybe you'll meet someone that, hey, if you do find a deal, I'll look to invest with you, or we can talk about it, because they're a real estate investor too, and they know all the hard work that you're going into and making these cold calls. I think is some of the success you can also see by calling people and asking if they want to sell their property. When you are cold calling, you want to have your script of what you're going to be saying. Typically it's around, do you want to sell the property? I'd say what I like to do for self-storage, I'll say, hey, my name is Tanner. I don't always throw a last name in there just because I don't want them to know who I am if they're going to freak out, which we'll get to a story about that. Hey, my name is Tanner. I was just curious if you or someone that you knew was planning to sell a storage facility this year. And then give them a chance to think about it. Usually they'll say no. And usually the reason why you say, or someone you know, just gets them to think a little bit more. Like, oh, I'm not, but I actually do have a friend. Because usually people in commercial spaces, they know all the same people. Like, I know the guy that has the building next door. I have another buddy, we do real commercial investing together, and he's actually got a property he's planning to sell. So trying to just get as many like leads out there, even from the people you call, to find a lead, like connection. Like almost like you're networking through the phone to figure out if people that they know want to buy a property. Yeah.
Has your experience been effectively voicemail, having them return a voicemail, or just not leaving a voicemail at all?
I always leave the voicemail. People do return the voicemail, and I just say the same thing of, hey, my name is Tanner. I was curious if you or someone you knew. Give me a call back at this number. Usually I'll say my phone number first. So especially with commercial, they tend to be of the older generation, and they'll write down the phone number if they're sitting there next to their voicemail. Like, oh, this is something important, because they give me their phone number right away. And then they'll hear what you have to say. I'm like, okay, we do have the number. We'll give them a call back. I have had people call me back. So I'd say always leave the voicemail. And there's some sites like through, I think it's like Batch Leads, they have a dialer, it's called Batch Dialer. And then through the one I use, Deal Machine, they have a dialer too, where you can send out just a bunch of voicemails to everyone as a group in order to just, it drops right away, basically, to get them touches as a voicemail. Don't read directly from the script. When you are cold calling, you want to keep it free flowing, like it's a conversation. So like memorize your script, and then as you're talking with them, like, oh, I'm going to direct it this direction. Because you'll be talking with people and they're going to start going off on a tangent. You got to bring them back to what you're on the phone for. Otherwise, you'll be on the phone for an hour with a guy that's just yapping about random stuff, and it's not being productive, and he's never going to sell his property, which is not good for you. So try and follow the script, but in good conversational flow. Memorize it so you don't have to be like, oh, do you want to do this? And it just doesn't sound good. You got to be able to have good flow, like you're flirting, kind of. Get them to sell their house, basically. Okay, do not use your personal phone number. Use like a Google Voice number, is what I have when I dial it manually, or use the site dialer. And the reason for this is I did use my personal phone number on accident one time, and I called the guy, and he took my number down, got my name Tanner, found me on Google, went to my Google, my real estate agent business profile, leaves me a 1-star review, says this person is calling, cussing on there, and being like, gives me a bad review about what I was doing. And like, I'm like, oh no, like now it drops me from 5 stars to 4.7 just right away. And I'm like, dang, well, I can report it to Google. It's all because I use my personal phone number and not a business number specific for it. So just avoid getting in a situation like that where they can track you down, because if there also is a do not call list of people you're not supposed to call, some people call it, sometimes you don't. that's a personal game you got to play. It depends on my mood, if how bad the leads I'm getting, if I want to do that or not. Typically I won't, because if you get someone on there that is like, oh, you're not supposed to call me, they'll take your phone number and your name, and you can tell by the questions that they'll ask. They'll say, oh, what's your name? And it's very like scripted. He's like, what's your name, your last name, your phone number, where do you work? And it's like, why are you asking me these things like so specific? Like, this is a little fishy, like, just talk about the house. And because they're going to report you to the do not call list, and then you're going to go into litigation and get fined and all that stuff. So you don't want that to happen. So that's why you avoid the do not call list and don't use your personal phone number. Still haven't gotten the Google review taken down. They never responded to me. I just responded back to him in a polite manner, and he did come back and say more stuff, which was funny. But yeah.
4.7 is more authentic, really.
Yeah.
Do you ever use a virtual assistant for this?
For cold calling, no. The reason I have in the past. It didn't really work as well as it's worked when I personally call, just because they ask questions. I'm like, no, it's me. I'm the one buying your property, and they tend to like me more, and we gain more trust that way, compared to when it's an assistant. They don't get all the information that you want, and I wasn't training them. So if I were to train them, maybe it could go different, and I could try that in the future. I just haven't gotten to that yet. Another strategy of the big four is door knocking to get directly to the seller. Basically, you walk up, knock on the door, use the same tactics that we've talked about with cold calling and getting someone on the phone, just doing it there in person. And you want to target, your same list you can do it on. You can find properties that are run down in any way, shape, or form. The yard needs landscaping. The building is overgrown with weeds, the paint is peeling, stuff needs to be fixed for it. Anything along those lines is basically what you're going to look for to target a property to go door knock and see if they want to sell the property. It does take time and energy, especially in the summer. You're out there in the heat, walking around, hitting door, door, door. I've never had success door knocking before, but I know people that have, so it's definitely something you should try. And if you're using some of the other strategies that we're going to get to, you might as well try it when you're coming past. Like, say you're at one property, you tour it, and the one across the street's pretty run down. Like, you're right there, you might as well just go try it and knock on the door. Save you some time a little bit. The next one is drive for dollars, and this one is what you're going to kind of combine with the other four we just talked about. You can do this in a car, in a bike. I've done it running before too. In your own neighborhood, or if you pick a neighborhood and want to just check it out, you're basically doing the same thing and looking for the same stuff as you would if you were door knocking. Properties that are run down, need maintenance. If they look like they don't have money to pay their mortgage, you want to knock on that door. And drive for dollars is just a way of sourcing and getting those leads. You can use an app. PropStream and Deal Machine, they do have their own app where you can set it to drive mode and drive around, set your criteria of I'm looking for properties that are like this in this neighborhood that I drive past, and it'll pick it up and put it onto your list for you, which is cool. Does take time and gas, and then you'll just combine it with cold calling, direct mailers, and door knocking too. This one's cool. I've never had success with it or done it, but I know people that have. I have put signs up before, but that was just sell a house. And when you put them up in like the main street areas, which is kind of where you want it to be in a neighborhood, they can get taken down on like Mondays and Tuesdays. But if you put it up on Friday, going into the weekend, they'll stay up, and you want to probably go and pick it up afterwards, because the city will come down and pick them up, depending on where it's placed. But it's the same way as, sending a direct mailer. Someone will see the sign like, oh, I do need to sell my house. And ideally, you put it in a neighborhood that you're kind of scouting and maybe already sending letters to. And then they'll call you, you get the lead, and then you take it just like you would a direct mailer from that point. Social media and Facebook ads. I've seen people do them before. I've never done them. Facebook ads in general just take a lot of learning and skill to do. And when I have done them, it never really quite worked. But it's definitely a route that you could go down. I don't think it's the best route to go for finding people that want to sell their property, though. Pro tip, this is Ryan. He's who I host the meetup with on the second Thursday every month. We talk more about house hacking and residential stuff than we do about commercial. But you want to find the owner's pain points. So when you do get someone that calls you, you want to figure out, okay, they did call you for a reason, which is good. They want to sell the property. You want to figure out why that is and what they're looking to ideally use the money for or get themselves out of a situation where they can be, pay off their debts. Whatever that is, you want to figure it out. The most recent person I spoke to, they wanted to, at their primary house, she just wanted to sell her investment property so she could do some landscaping and fix up her primary. That was her main goal and pay off some other debts. I'm like, okay, that's what you want to do. This is the price I'm at. Does that work for you to hit all your goals? She said yes, and we went under contract. So figuring out their pain points is really crucial in getting the deal to move forward. Real estate agents are another good way to find off-market deals. They're probably going to be doing the same 4 things that we just talked about. Or real estate agents also, they have been around for a little bit, so they have their network of when someone's just like, hey, I want to sell my house, I need to do it quick, can you help me? And they're like, yeah, I can help you. If you want to do it quick, you're probably going to get this price, which means you're going to have to go to an investor. An investor is going to offer you 70% of what the ARV is, just so you know. If they're okay with that, the real estate agent, okay, I'm going to go and talk to my investors that I have, and you're going to want to be one of those people in that scenario, which means talk to a lot of real estate agents, and you need to stay on top of mind with them. But when you stay on top of mind with them, don't do it in a nagging way, because I get annoyed with it. Do it in a friendly way of oh, hey, I'm still looking, and you need to show me that you're putting in work too. Otherwise, I'm just going to go to my flipper guy that I know can get me a good offer and quick. But a lot of agents, if they're smart, will want to get as many offers as possible because they're technically still representing the seller that they have, and they're not going to be representing you. You're just going to kind of be on your own with maybe some small guidance from the agent, just of them being a friend at that point, not any contract signed with them as the agent.
Can I say something on that?
Yeah, go for it.
The commercial side. So a lot of times, as brokers, we'll know owners that they don't, they would be willing to sell, but they don't necessarily want to go through the process of listing their property. And maybe they've got tenants in there. They don't want the tenants to know that it's listed. And so there are a lot of those opportunities in the commercial realm for pocket listings, because owners have different motivation behind not necessarily wanting to take it to market. So Tanner's absolutely right. Just networking and staying top of mind for commercial brokers is important. And I love that you said not doing it in a annoying way.
Yeah.
But yeah, just continuing to let them know, hey, still looking for something. I still got cash to deploy on this. So just wanted to keep top of mind with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Expired listings is another route you can go. Basically, if you have an agent friend or someone you're close to that is an agent, they can pull a list of all the expired listings. That's the only way I know that you can get the list. I'm sure could be another way if you go directly to the MLS. But they can pull you the list and be like, hey, here's all the properties. And then from there, you would just have to cold call them and send them direct mailers and do any of the other first 4 that we talked about for reaching out directly to sellers. But these would be homes that they were trying to sell. It didn't work out. They may be a little bit tired from having it on the market, not getting the prices that they wanted, and could do something creative possibly in order for you to buy the property. Yeah, that's all we got for that. Wholesalers, any wholesalers in here? There he is. Wholesalers can be great. Oftentimes, I have not had the best experiences with wholesalers. Wholesalers are just people that are not licensed agents, and they do everything we've talked about in order to find a property that they can just deliver directly to an investor for them to be ready to go to whether flip it, make it a good rental, any type of investment property. Generally, they're going to have different contracts than you would do as a real estate agent. They're going to be their own contracts. You're going to want to make sure you read it. They're going to want the earnest money to be non-refundable, and they're going to want you to sign on as soon as possible, which are all things that you should not do. because especially if you're new, you want to take your time, analyze the property. They'll probably give you their own ARV, their own rehab costs. Don't look at that. You need to look at what you think it should be and be like, hey, when I made my numbers based off the photos, I walked it and whatnot, this is what my price is. And whether the wholesaler makes that work for you or not is up to them. I'd say generally it doesn't work. And so that's just why I think it's better to just do the work yourself. But there are some great wholesalers out there, and maybe they do it right. And I'd say it tends to be like the smaller ones will actually care more because it's them that's doing the business and not a larger company where they have a lot of turnover on who their distribution and acquisition people are that are working for the company. Auctions. Has anyone been to an auction here in Colorado? They're all done online, so they're very easy. You're technically not supposed to go and look at any of the properties, but I have driven past them for some flippers at a state before, and it's just tough because you don't know what the property looks like on the inside. You can't do an inspection. You're kind of just throwing your price out there, and you got to have a lot of reserves in order to fix things that you didn't plan for because you can't see the property. So I wouldn't recommend it as like a newbie strategy. I would probably, once you're like super experienced or you have some inside details on the property, to where you could go that route. But typically I would avoid it. There's going to be a lot of foreclosures and real estate owned properties that the bank has already taken over on there. And you will need proof of funds because you're going to be paying cash online directly for it when that does happen. Craigslist, Facebook, and for sale by owners on Zillow. Just another strategy to use to go directly to the seller. If you see it's been on there for a little bit, or people that maybe they want to sell their property, they don't really know how to do it. They think they can do it themselves, so they put it on Facebook and they're like, hey, I want to sell my property. Maybe it could work out where you could get a good deal. I think that takes a lot of scouting and a lot of social media time of being on there looking in order to make that happen. But people have done it before, so it's definitely a possibility. And then you're just calling up for sale by owners, which a lot of real estate agents do call because they want to get their house listed on the market, which is generally good for them. But you just have a lot of competition when you're calling the for sale by owners on Zillow. Networking with real estate agents is going to be good. Very relationship based, going to meetups like this one, all of the ones in town, because you never know when someone's going to be like, yeah, I want to sell my property. And it's going to be tough at real estate investor events because we all want to get the best return on our property when we sell it. But maybe you could do something with owner financing that's creative that way. Or maybe you just meet people that you can partner on deals in the future. But you never know who you're going to meet, so I think it's generally good to go. But you can also talk with divorce attorneys, insurance brokers, because they're also dealing with real estate properties. And I'd say the divorce attorney could be a good one because they'd be like, oh, I know a guy that can buy your property. If it's not in great condition and you need to get this done fast, go talk to him. Another strategy that could work out well.
And that happens in commercial as well. I have a listing right now that the guy is getting divorced and he's being forced to sell his property and his business. So that happens in commercial also, not just homes.
Yeah. Any questions? Sweet, very detailed, I guess, is what it was. Yeah.
Can we get the slides and the video? Is there a place for that?
Yeah, I can send you the slides. The video will be on YouTube, which you can find right there. I have a podcast too, if anyone wants to check it out. Me and Renee have talked commercial real estate on there, so that's pretty cool.
Do you have a criteria? I'm sorry.
No, go
Go ahead.
Do you have like a criteria? Like, are you going for pre-foreclosures, probates, all of it?
Just gonna reveal my secrets, huh?
Sorry.
For self-storage, it's just any self-storage because there's not a ton of them on there in the smaller scale that I'm looking at. For residential stuff, I don't like to chase the foreclosure ones because that's what a lot of people end up doing. I like to do the out-of-state owner one because it's generally an investor that isn't around their property, or it's like they're tired from owning it for so long and they had the idea of getting into the real estate game and like, it's not what I thought, it's not really what I'm into nowadays, and they kind of just let the maintenance go from it, which is exactly what the recent seller I have said. She's like, yeah, I kind of just let it go after a couple years because I got tired of it and it wasn't really my thing. So that's, I'd say, what I like to target more, and other smaller stuff in there, but I'd say that's the big overarching thing.
If you had one book suggestion, what would it be?
Book suggestion? I'd say probably more business books than real estate book. But Rich Dad Poor Dad is an easy one if you haven't read that one. What's it called? Think and Grow Rich is one I really like. So yeah, those would be my 2 book recommendations.
Did you come up with your scripts, or did you build them from somewhere else?
Watch YouTube videos and combine them with what my goals were and what they said, and kind of figured it out and pieced it together.
Well,
So,
thank you.
yeah.
I actually have one more quick one for you.
Mhm.
Were there
We already clapped.
were there lists for the
Now let me turn the music
for
down.
something as specific as like self-storage facilities?
There were, but I didn't like them.
I was gonna say that seems like.
Yeah.
So how did you find your dials for that?
I hired a VA and had her go onto Google and searched up every city and looked down, and because you can tell what they look like, it's just a giant rectangle next to each other. And if you see anything like this, get the address, and then I just skip traced it is what it's called. We can get the address and look at their phone number. I just did that from there, and she built a whole list and put like 80 hours into doing it over a couple weeks, and that's how I got it. Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks for coming out.
Thank you.
The next event is going to be in August about self-storage. Tiffany's great. I also have a podcast with her. She's got lots of good information about industrial, self-storage, just real estate in general, and anything else.